Well, the illicit trade of cigarettes growing in South Africa, in South Africa's economy at large, and certainly the country is now feeling the pinch. Now, you'll remember the Finance Minister highlighted the extent of the problem, which led to the revival of what is now known as the Illicit Economy Unit. Now, this was back in August. The legal tobacco industry continuing to call for government intervention, and some would say even government's help, in a bid to curb job losses. Let's unpack exactly how we do this, when are we going to do this, and what is it going to cost us? Excuse me, joining me here on Newsnight is Viwe Mlenzana from the Illicit Economy Fund, while I get some water, excuse me, and Ntando Sibisi from the Black Tobacco Farmers Association. Gentlemen, good evening to you. I think, Viwe, while I take a sip of water, if I can come to you on this first. When we talk about black tobacco farmers are slamming Treasury for throwing 10,000 jobs into the wind, how did we get to that number and why are we throwing it away?
So, Gareth, just a couple of corrections. I'm from SARS. And secondly, so specifically to your question, look, I think there is a reason for concern around what is happening within the tobacco sector. And we have noticed that there's been quite a number of what we regard as concerning activities with regards to illicit trade. Now, obviously, what would then happen is that people would then be trading in these cigarettes that are not necessarily going through the normal channels in terms of the economy, and as such are not paying the taxes. And because they are not going through the normal channels in terms of the economy, they obviously are affecting jobs, as it were. Now, I did see, obviously, the statement and the concerns from the Black Farmers Association, and I'm sure they have got issues that they would like to about some of those concerns.
Ntando, from the Black Tobacco Farmers Association, what are those issues? Good evening.
Good evening. The issues are simple. If the government, so to say, I don't have to put it in SARS store, will be doing what they are promising to be doing to making sure that they protect the emerging farmers, not only in tobacco but farmers in general. But when I look at the situation now, it doesn't show me that they are doing the talk the right way, because I've been following the study that was done by Ipsos. It shows by then that 40% already of the tobacco industry is in the illicit market. Then you wonder, why is it happening like that? Are they doing what they are saying, or they are just paying a lip service?
What do you think it is?
It's a lip service. Because if they've got the guts and the resources to see to it that habit comes to an end, but they're not doing that.
Viwe?
So, look, I mean, the issue around the illicit economy, particularly in tobacco, as I said earlier on, is an issue that we need to obviously be decisive about. To that extent, I can give you some assurance that we are doing something about it. Let me just give you a couple of issues that we're busy with. So from a SARS point of view and from an enforcement activity point of view, there's quite a number of enforcement initiatives that we're busy with. Some of them have been in the public domain in the past week or so. And we are going to increase those particular activities. That's number one. Number two, though, Gareth, it's important that people need to understand that we are dealing with with an industry here that unfortunately has been infiltrated by a lot of untoward activities, as it were, and they do continuously find ways of working against the system. So
you're talking about the illicit farmers, though?
No. I mean those that are trying to do the wrong things, because that's illicit by nature. Yes. So it obviously affects the legitimate people, and obviously it affects the farmers themselves, because they do not necessarily get the opportunity to then sell their produce through the right channels, or when they do sell the produce through the right channels, they would have certain difficulties, because maybe their produce would be surpass the sort of the demand, because the other problem that there is around the issue of smuggled tobacco, if ever we can call it that. But one of the things that we're putting in place very shortly, Gareth, is a technology that is going to assist us in tracking what is proper tobacco, particularly cigarettes, and what is illicit cigarettes, so that anyone that is a member of the community can be able to identify that this is a good packet of cigarette and this one is not a good packet of cigarette.
Ntando, you're saying that SARS isn't doing enough. SARS telling us that they are doing as much as they can. There's new developments, there's new technologies coming in. Is this what you're hoping to hear as the Black Tobacco Farmers Association? Are you at least hearing something moving in the right direction?
I think it's for the first time that I'm hearing this, and I hope what I'm hearing is what's going to transpire in action. I hope so.
What will that do? Tell me about the industry. What will that do for the industry on the ground? When you leave here tonight and you go back as the BTAF tomorrow, what does it do for your members on the ground? What do they want to hear?
We want to hear that there is no electricity trade in tobacco in South Africa, one, because if that trend continue, already 10,000 of jobs will be in jeopardy. I don't talk of us growers in the rural areas. So if what I'm hearing today is what's going to transpire into action, I'll be more than happy. I'll send an encouraging message to the farmers back.
Are they willing to hear that now? They're wanting the help. It seems they're getting the help. Will they be open to that help?
They are more than welcoming the help if that's going to happen.
I do want to bring into this, and it wouldn't be fair, I'm afraid, if I don't ask you, as a member of SARS this evening, Viwe from the Illicit Economy Fund that forms part of SARS, your former SARS commissioner, that being, of course, Tom Moyane, has been widely reported now as undermining probes into the illicit tobacco trade. Talk to me about SARS PR. Talk to me about SARS imagery. As you sit here right now with the Black Tobacco Association, it doesn't look good, does it? Tell me how things are working in your office. How are you getting around Tom Moyane and the accusations of illicit tobacco trade, which is exactly what is causing this problem?
Sure. So I think the challenges that as an organization that we have had in the recent past are well documented. It's not for me to rehash those. We've had the Nugent Commission that has gone into detail about some of those activities. But I think what is more important is to talk about what is it that we're doing differently going forward. So we launched a new unit in August last year, which is called the Illicit Economy Unit. And its main focus is to investigate syndicated fraud. Now, we have specific sectors that we're looking at. Tobacco is one of them. The other one is the fuel sector, cash and carry, textiles, and so forth. Now, that particular unit is dedicated to doing nothing else other than to try and go to the heart of these particular issues. All right. Now, to date, I can share with you that we probably have got about 800 cases already that we're looking at. That translates to about a prejudice to SARS of about 13 billion rand. So we are sort of dedicated in ensuring that whatever that is due to the fiscus, we're going to collect that. We have a duty to protect the economy, and of course, we're doing exactly that.
Ntando, Sibisi, you speak on behalf of the Black Tobacco Farmers Association. Do you trust SARS now that we know the accusations against its former commissioner? Do you trust SARS and what they're saying about the changes they're making, even post Tom Moyane?
At the moment, I'll be lying if I would say I do trust SARS. Because if you look at it, these government entities, the finance ministry, as well as SARS, because a study has been done, a transparent study on the illicit trade in the main cigarette. Now that the minister, when he tabled his budget speech, hit the nail harder than before, putting an increase of 7.4% on the people that are paying their dues to the cost fiscus of SARS in the form of this access tax. Then if SARS is genuine enough, he should have collaborated the story with the Minister of Finance to say, look, we are in the red. we are working around the clock to see to it that the illicit trade on cigarette comes to an end before you can put more access to the legal tobacco manufacturers. That will be the first thing that they should have done before coming to say now that they are doing this and that. Because already now that says if a packet of cigarette in the illicit trade is costing 10 rand, how many innocent kids access those cigarettes?
Viwe, I'm seeing you nodding. I mean, you understand the damage control that SARS is currently in around Tomoyane, but it comes down to the everyday production, the everyday supply, and the everyday employment of those in the tobacco industry. You're not ignorant of this. You can hear the problems.
Absolutely. Look, I mean, to be honest with you, we are in the same movie with BAFTA. Okay, we share those concerns. In fact, we want to work very closely with all these associations that are representing organized business in this particular sector. We have been in contact with a number of them, but clearly we've got to increase our engagements. Clearly, we've got to find solutions jointly to the problem. In fact, it is in the manufacturer's interest as much as it is in our interest to make sure that we weed out all of this illicit activity within our economy, particularly in the cigarettes. Cigarettes, illicit trade is a problem. It is obviously stealing away jobs from those that are legitimately in the employ, as it were.
And it's one thing to look at SARS and say that we need, or you need SARS to come on board and help to stave off the illicit cigarette trade. You're going to possibly lose 10,000 jobs. What are you, as the Tobacco Association, doing to try and stop the illicit trade? It's one thing to look at SARS, and they can only do so much within the legal framework of what's available to them. What do you do on a daily basis? Come Monday, what does your organization do? How do you stop this?
That's the reason why on the 24th of January this year, the BTFA come to being, because previously it didn't have a voice that was going to table our grievances in a proper way that the government could have an ear to listen. Now that we do have that structure, we'll see to it that we persuade every retail here in South Africa to make the point that they don't buy anything that is illicit. Because remember, the leaf that these people are processing is not a South African leaf. There's only one company that buys South African leaf.
BAT.
BAT, yes. And if BAT close the doors, where will these thousands of people going to be?
For those watching at home, forgive me, I use the acronym BAT, of course, being British American Tobacco. Forgive me for those who are watching at home. So, gentlemen, as I begin to sort of unwind what is going on here, Viwe and Ntando, two different organizations. It seems when we started this conversation, two very different ideas of how this is working. But Ntando, you're saying to me that you're now hearing positivity. Viwe, you're saying the channels of communication are being open, and I'm going to organize the most awkward date in the tobacco industry in SARS. I imagine that when we leave here, the two of you are going to talk, the organizations are going to talk, and you're going to find each other. You'd want the same thing, is what I'm hearing. Final comment from you.
No, absolutely. In fact, I know for a fact that this coming week we're actually meeting with one of the associations in the tobacco space, so we continue engaging. We want to engage more. Obviously, I think, as the fellow panelist has indicated, that their association is feeling you. It's something that we probably need to spend more time understanding in terms of what their needs and their desires, so that we can then work jointly. We have a common enemy, as it were, so to speak.
And Ntando, thank you. And Ntando, that seems to be the way forward here. New organization, common enemy. SARS seems to be wanting to organize a discussion with you. That's what you wanted. Is this what you wanted to get out of this discussion?
Definitely. This is. I think I can see the road ahead is going to be brighter if then what we are discussing here today, that we are now marrying one another to making sure that the illicit in cigarette comes to an end. I'm glad.
It doesn't help those working on the ground. It doesn't help SARS and the taxman either. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming in to speak to us. Viwe Mlenzana from SARS, from the Illicit Economy Fund's Acting Chief Officer, of course, for enforcement, alongside Chairperson of the BTFA, or the Black Tobacco Farmers Association, if you'd prefer. That is Mr. Ntando, Sibisi. Gentlemen, thank you both for coming in this evening. No doubt these conversations will continue, and we'll pick up with you again in the not-too-distant future to